welcome back for another amazing episode of the Third Shield Pokemon Go PvP podcast. Guys, today I have an amazing guest for you. I know I always say that, but this time it just might be true. It's Wholesome himself joining us on this podcast. Wholesome, welcome to the podcast.
Howdy, Daniel. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Hope you're having a good day.
I'm having a great day because I cannot wait to pick your brain. I love watching your late streams, by the way. It's a little late for me sometimes, but I try to tune in and basically do that before my bedtime. But sometimes I wake up from it. It's a great stream, and I just wanted to have you on a podcast because a few things. A, you're an amazing entertainer, and then B, you are really good at Pokemon Go. And those two things we need. So I really wanted to talk about so far how you actually doing this season, and if you have anything that you want to point out as far as like positives or negatives, or anything that's like almost like stand out to you this season that have not in the previous season.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for having me on here. Super excited to be here. Season 8 has been off to a fast start here for me for sure. I kind of had the mentality of, hey, I'm actually going to really try really hard at the beginning and see if I can push leaderboards early on. And then we'll see how soon that I can hit legend. I've had some previous seasons where I'm able to hit legend sooner than some other people, and I'd like to be able to do that again. The big change here for me this season was some of the move updates, both to Pidgeot as well as to the poison types. I started off early running Pidgeot along with Vigoroth and Nidoqueen, and that ended up working out super well until obviously Pidgeot ended up getting banned. So I think I had a couple days where I was like 20-5, 21-4 early on. A lot of fun to play, but obviously had to kind of change things up and adapt after the update to Pidgeot getting banned from the league. Right now, I'm running Umbreon Deoxys Defense with Shadow Nidoqueen in the back. Operates very similarly to a team that I played last season that got me to Legend, actually, with Umbreon Deoxys Defense Charm A9. But this season, with a lot fewer Charmers overall, a lot higher presence of Steals, things like that, the flexibility of Nidoqueen having counters to Azumarill, counters to things like Bastiodon, able to hit super effective versus G-Fisk, gives it a lot of flexibility, and I've been doing pretty well. I think right now I'm sitting right around 2680, so kind of working on that expert push right now, and was able to climb pretty quickly in the season. And today Ultra League is back, so I'm actually looking forward to that and seeing if I can hit expert tonight on stream, and I'm hoping that people in the next week or two are able to make that legend push. Looking forward to it.
First of all, that's freaking amazing that you're already there, because the season just started 2 weeks ago. Exactly today, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the cool thing, Daniel, was that on Monday, 1 week after the season started, this was absolutely facilitated by the Go Battle Night, which they've never had before that early in the season. So I was able to get, I think, the 95 games in or so, plus a banked one for the next day. Yeah, I was actually able to get to veteran 1 week after the season started, which is wild, absolutely wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. And right since you brought it up, I wanted to ask you something about that, because the season is how long now? What, almost 3 months, right? Total?
Yeah, it's a good bit.
So the question I wanted to have you right off the bat, since we already talking about this, is that with the season being so long, do you think, and would you want it to make some changes as far as like from playoffs idea to anything, something like the first half of the season, which is the first month and a half, right? When we have all 3 leagues cycle through. And then if you reached X amount of points or X amount of ELO or whatever they do it, the cutoff, or made the leaderboard, then the next round, which is the second half of the season, you have some sort of a playoffs for the rest of the month and a half or something like that.
Yeah, good question. So I mean, first off, my opinion about the season length is that I frankly think it's a bit too long. I know that there's mixed opinions here. I really enjoyed the 7-week format that there was initially. I think it facilitated a lot of competition throughout the entire season. You'd have a lot of excitement and hype from beginning of season all the way till the end, and that never really dropped down. As a content creator, when you hit legend early on, and this is exclusive to me, I know there's other perspectives, but when you hit at legend early on, and then you've got, weeks and weeks and weeks of well, I don't want to say meaningless, but less meaningful battles, it's a bit challenging to kind of keep things fresh, keep things new. And I don't mind, I guess, the push from 7 to something longer, but in some cases we're double or triple what the seasons used to be. So that's kind of one thing that I wanted to address first off. I would say the new thing that, if for me, is my personal goal, is hitting 3,500 every season. I've done it the last 2 seasons, and that's something that wasn't able to be accomplished prior to the season extension. So that's kind of cool. That's something that I have as a bit of a personal goal. To answer your question, though, I think it would be cool if we saw some sort of Niantic sponsored tournament type of thing, whether it be like Sil format, whether it be just straight Go Battle League. And in general, I like that idea. I think that we're looking at a lot of third parties right now, whether it's ADL, whether it's Go Stadium, whether it's any of those other formats, that we're starting to see that tier of real PvP competition that's starting to elevate beyond just the standard Go Battle League. And I'd love to see some sort of Niantic involvement in that. That said, I think that they're doing a good job right now with introducing some new leagues and some new formats to try and keep things fresh, and just not so repetitive, just Great League, Ultra League, Master League, Great League, Ultra League, Master League over and over. So I do like that. But to your point, I think it would be a step in the right direction for the overall PvP community if we did see some involvement from Niantic and either working on some new tiers past Legend, 3,500 is the new Legend or something, or working with some like tournaments and playoffs, like you said, to kind of keep things a bit more competitive after the point where a lot of people have already hit Legend.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I honestly, even though I'm not good of a player compared to you, I'm like, probably like, this is me down here, you're up here, But to that point, I was able to hit Legend since so I didn't know anything, no typings, no whatsoever until season 3. So since season 3, I've been able to hit Legend every season though.
Yeah.
And I think the best season that I had that I enjoyed the most was the 4th one, which was supposedly the hardest to hit Legend to many people, because that's when they did that crazy change of elo gain and loss, with like hundreds of points. Yeah.
So I remember that one. It was very, very competitive because, you get to the 2900s and if you go 3-2, you end up going negative. And with the way that the multipliers were, even if you had a positive set, you're only going up, 2 or 3 points. A 4-1 would get you like 7 or 8 points. So it was so difficult to climb. It was fun being a part of it, but I think that Niantic definitely learned about, how they need to adjust things real time throughout the season so that there's actually the right amount of competitiveness, right amount of legends at certain points throughout the season. So I think they may have over rotated a little bit, but I like that they're at least kind of tweaking things and willing to change. So that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then the shortness, I like the shortness because it was so quick. So you're like, all right, I have Great League, I have Ultra League, I have Masters, and then I have 1 week of all of them to hit that Legend. So I really enjoyed that.
It felt like the pressure was always on. Yeah. And I, for myself, I hit Legend really early on in season 3. Season 4, I mean, it took me probably an extra 2 weeks. Frankly, it was a lot more challenging. And I do think that for the health of the game, I like people getting access to hitting Legend later on. I think that's a good positive change. I don't think it needs to be so strict like it used to be. But at the same time, I think we're more than double the time. I think there's probably some balance in between of maybe 10 or 11 weeks versus like 13 or 14, whatever it is now, that I think could kind of keep some of the excitement and diminish some of the staleness that at least I feel, and I think a lot of other creators feel towards the end of the season when the games kind of seem meaningless.
No, you can definitely see that. So to your point, what you just said, the seasons seem meaningless. Is the reason I'm saying this is because if you just look at Twitch statistics, YouTube statistics of viewership, you can clearly see that when it's
big drop off
the season.
Yeah, big drop off for sure.
Yep.
I know that there's a ton of hype around your Legend push, a ton of hype around beginning of season and things like that. To your point, end of season, if you're actually looking at your Twitch statistics, I mean, it's probably 30% drop in viewership because people are just they're kind of exhausted with how long the season is. They're ready for something new. So, I mean, I know that everyone's going to have different opinions on that. I think I can respect everyone's opinion for how long it should or shouldn't be. For me personally, from my perspective, I'd like to see it a little shorter.
Yeah, the only one thing that maybe it would be a cool tweak is right now for so many people, and it's cool that everybody can push for a Legend. But if, like you, in your case, you would be definitely qualifying into this. If you reached X, right, then you are in a different bracket and you are competing on a different level. So now we have 2 viewers. So we have the viewers that say to me, still pushing for Legend in the second half of the season, right? And then, so my viewers come to me because they're like, all right, let's get that Legend. Your viewers will go to you because you are like, all right, I'm pushing for the whatever eventually cash prize right now for that title, maybe an in-game trophy that you hold up, or whatever
Yeah.
Niantic comes up with, right?
That could be pretty cool. Like maybe like, you know, the top 10 battlers at the end of the season get some sort of reward, whether it's something exclusive or whether it's a cash prize. I think that's pretty cool and would continue some motivation and some hype around that end of season push. I mean, a lot of people, their goal is, hey, I want to end as high as I can on the leaderboard. For me personally, if I'm able to hit page 1 of leaderboard, I feel like that was a, you know, big thumbs up for me and kind of mission accomplished for my season. So that's kind of my own personal goal. I know that some people really, really like to push high leaderboards and stream it. The challenge that you run into is that those queue times get so long, it's hard to get through more than a couple sets in 2 hours. And, you know, for me, that's just not personally worth it. I do enjoy the leaderboard push. I enjoy seeing the top battlers and playing the best people. It's just hard to maintain that for weeks and weeks and weeks while you're trying to be entertaining as well.
You reached legend, obviously, with no XLs before. So that's cool, because what I see on Twitter is everybody's complaining about that there's only XL and you need to have XL to hit legend, which I only use Berserker's XL as well to hit legend, basically. But that's not my point. My point, what I'm trying to bring is, how would you, or what would you say to these people, or how could you help them out? Maybe with a team, or do you have something in mind to share with them who try to say that, you know, XL only?
Yeah. You know, I would try and stick to a league that you're comfortable with for your legend push for sure. For some people that's Master League, for some people that's Ultra League, for some people that's Great League. For me, it's Ultra League. You know, I can absolutely recommend that team: Shadow Machamp, Shadow Snorlax, Alolan Muck. I think Toe Tactical's done some videos on it. You've seen some other content creators play it. I would not say that it has all of the advantages that something like a fully XL team would have, but if your budget, you know, resource constrained, you have to run a budget team, it's still very flexible. In fact, I was able to achieve 35, not only legend, but 3,500 with that team. So that's one that I would absolutely recommend. You can check out my stream. You can check out some of Toe Tactical's videos. There's some walkthroughs for how to play it. It's a very flexible team, and that even in lead losses, things like Snorlax, things like Muck can actually win back switch quite a bit. It's a bit weak to fighters in the back, which a lot of people have started running. But if you know your matchups, and for me, you know, I probably have 2,000 games played with that team. I know every matchup. I know every count. I know, you know, CMP ties, who wins those, things like that. If you can apply that to another league, just a team that you're super comfortable with, I think you're a great example with your heavy damage team. You know that team inside and out. And if you can get to that level with a team where you know the matchups, you know the CMPs, you know the counts, you know who wins what, and you can start predicting other people's teams, when you can get to that level of mastery, I think that a lot of teams can get you to that legend push, especially late in the season when elos have inflated so much. So whether it's my team, whether it's your team, you know, whether it's just a team that you're comfortable with, as long as it has good meta coverage and it's flexible and you know the matchups, I feel like that you can go pretty far with a lot of teams.
That's a really good point you made, and I wanted to a little bit ask more questions about that, because, you know, you hear it sometimes from different YouTube creators. I don't want to name any because, you know, it's their beliefs or whatever. But
Sure.
some of them, for example, would share something like, "Yeah, you need to switch up the teams very often and do this or da 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 da," all that kind of stuff. So that might be true if you're a King IV, I feel like, because he could play with anything. But
Sure.
if I would keep switching up the teams, I would probably not make it at all whatsoever. Although, that all being said, that's what I did last season, but it was horrible though. I hate it.
Well, I think there's different strategies, Daniel. I think that some people, like someone that's a very, very talented battler, you see on the top of the leaderboard all the time, Dunebug, for instance. Every time I play him, he's got a different team and always knows how to make it work. He's someone that's constantly responding to meta shifts and saying, what am I seeing? What are the mons that I think are going to be most applicable to this particular state of the meta right now? And does a very, very good job of it. The guy is constantly page 1 leaderboard. You know, if you have access to all those mons and you have an understanding of team building, then I think that's a good way to optimize. For me, I'm not as good at responding to the meta. For me, I'm not as good at building a team that I think is going to be flexible for that moment in time. For me, I do prefer the consistency and just the mastery of one or two consistent teams that I can fall back on if there's one that's not working. Rather than just like changing out a mon, I probably have like a fallback or maybe a two fallback teams that I know as well that I can switch to that have still a lot of relevance in the overall meta, but might have, better play versus fighters, or better play versus charmers, or better play versus darks, depending on what I'm seeing more of in that particular moment. So I think that there's two separate strategies overall. I think that you can excel with either. I do have times where I feel that I don't want to change my team, but I'm getting hard countered every game. Everyone's running charmers in the back, or everyone's running fighters in the back. And some days you just have to deal with a tough day. Maybe you bank a set for the next day, but the meta is always changing. People are always changing things up. And with my team, the Machamp, Snorlax, Amok, it has pretty flexible play versus all of them. And chances are, if you're having a tough day or two, 2 days later, it's going to really, really do well. So I'd say keep at it if you have a team that you really, really like.
Yeah, and to clarify, I only wanted to bring up in a way that that switching up teams is only for people who are knowing those teams and can build, just like you mentioned it. And then for me or new people, I don't recommend switching up the teams because you're not gonna know what to do.
Exactly. For me, like, and I think this applies to a lot of people, when you're playing a Mon for the first time, even if it's a good team, your overall ability to climb kind of goes down because you don't know those matchups. You don't know all the counts necessarily. You don't know how much a move is going to hit your Pokemon for, or how much your move is going to hit another Pokemon for. Now, that said, I've tried to diversify and tried to play some new teams. And I think that as a result, rather than just kind of being a one-trick pony, I've learned a lot more and become a lot more flexible. And I would recommend to any battler out there, if you come to a point where you've already hit legend, try something new. It may not pay off this particular season, this particular moment, but having flexibility and knowing how to play other Mons will absolutely translate to success later down the road.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. That was a really good way to put it. So guys, make sure you heard that. And then also, if you're not watching but listening, you might want to watch this just because Wholesome's popping in the background giving us a show.
We'll bring him here real quick. He can say hello. This is my dog, Biggie. He's a frequent contributor to the stream. He's having a good time, living his best life, rolling around on the floor behind us.
He was crawling around. It was so funny because his two legs are in the background. Don't move, just the front's crawling.
He does he I call it like he sploots out on the ground and kind of does like a military crawl, he's fun.
Very cool. And you have a cat too, but it just disappeared somewhere.
I have many cats. Yes, it's a zoo. It's a zoo here at the Wholesome household.
Now we have some new movesets coming out. I don't know if you have any chance to even see it. It was by the Pokeminers. It was like Fairy something Dust. I don't even know what it was, but it was two different ones.
Yeah, I saw that we're gonna have a new fairy fast move that will give us some more flexibility versus just charm. Did they have the details for the energy and the damage for them yet?
Nope, nothing. Just that it was added to the game, the name itself.
Yeah, I'd love to see something that's different, not a 3-turn fast move.
Yeah.
Hopefully something that's a bit faster, either a 1 or 2 turn, something that has higher energy generation, maybe less overall damage, something that we did see some changes to Dragon Tail, which is interesting, but to kind of look at it, you have something like a Dragon Tail that's lower energy generation but higher damage, kind of similar to Charm, but then something that's kind of the opposite, that's very high. Well, it's still kind of similar in the sense that it's high damage, low energy generation, but Dragon Breath with the 1-turn move, it plays totally different. And I'd like to see some flexibility there when instead of running Clefable where you're just charm, just tapping on your screen, charm, maybe something that's a 1-turn fast move or something that's lower damage, high energy generation to maybe help get to those very high cost energy charge moves, to kind of give it a totally different look and feel versus what we're used to right now. I think that rather than just, introducing or buffing poison is a way to change the dominance of charm in the Great League meta and even Ultra League. I really like the idea of introducing a new fast move to just give different play to fairies and hopefully make them a bit more flexible versus them right now, which is just fast move, oppressive damage. So I'm looking forward to seeing when those details emerge.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited for that. And then that might mean that Cernix might be better. I might say it wrong. The Xernea is the...
Oh, is like Xerneas or whatever it is?
Xerneas,
yeah, I don't know how to say it either. Yeah, no, that'd be cool. Its movesets are terrible right now. Yeah. I'd love to see some cool updates that it gets access to something that makes it relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I think that you did use that in your set to Legend, didn't you? This most recent season. Yeah, very
That's what I
cool.
used on my last set. That's the set. I did a 5-0. Luckily, I got super lucky because the opponent, and that's what I wanted to ask you actually in the next question. So perfect, you brought it up. Is that what happened? Is the opponent had no idea what moveset it has, and he
Right.
swapped into a steel because he saw fairy typing, but he didn't know this steel has close combat. So he just absolutely one-shotted it, and he didn't even shield. He had 2 shields, and that was game over because, close combat, game over. But the question I wanted to have you, using brand new Pokemon that comes out like right off the bat, like soon as it drops, and you start using it in the meta. So let's make this a two-way question. How do you deal with that as you playing against a brand new Pokemon that you have no idea about, is if you're facing it? And then the second question is, do you or would you use as a brand new Pokemon to take advantage of it that people don't know the matchups?
Yeah, well, first off, I would just watch your YouTube videos, Daniel, because you're always using those new Pokemon in your videos. If I ever want to say, hey, is this Pokemon good? What are the moves? I just go watch your videos and then I can see whether it's good or not. I'd say more often than not, you're using Pokemon that aren't that good. And if that's the outcome, then so be it. But yeah, I think that you do a great job of showcasing some of those new Pokemon as soon as they come out. So that's always a great way to go check those out. I mean, frankly, if I'm facing them, sometimes my chat can help me. I say, chat, what does this thing even have? How much does this do? Sometimes you just have to do it for science, right? You say, all right, well, I'm not going to shield. Let's see how much this does. And then you end up taking a close combat as a Steelmon and you get one shot and you never do it again, right? You respect it the next time. But it's really challenging to always know things. You can go to resources like PvPoke and go sim things and try and know what to expect. But I think in general with Pokemon Go and Go Battle League, sometimes you just kind of have to get burnt once until you can actually make a judgment of what do I do here in this scenario. I know that teams that you play regularly, like my Ultra League team, I remember when Jellicent came into the meta, and I'm just like, oh shoot, what do I do now? I knew Jellicent in Great League, but I didn't know it in Ultra League. So you start having to understand, okay, how many rock slides does it take to KO this Jellicent? When do I need to switch to most optimally or most likely catch a move? Those are some of the things that it just kind of takes some cycles and takes some reps until you fully get it down. For me, I rarely walk into a scenario where I'm playing against a new mon that I already know exactly what I'm going to do. Sometimes it's trial and error and you have to figure things out. Sometimes you might get lucky and it might be the right thing right away. A lot of times it's not. So I wouldn't say that I have like a full strategy of go plan this out, go do this. I think the best thing you can do, maybe poke around and PvPoke for a while, watch some Daniel videos and try and set yourself up as best as possible.
Thank you for that. As far as for well, we talked about PvPoke. So and the new cups are coming. So remix cups.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the remix cup yet? What you are going to use or run or anything like that?
Good question. I'll be honest, I'm not great at planning for things in advance when it comes to those. I normally just kind of react and say, okay, chat, remind me what's banned, what do we need to do here? A lot of people put a lot of preparation, a lot of time and effort into building and crafting the best team. For me, I kind of like to just play around with things until I figure something out. Normally what I see is that there's like a meta that gets defined before the remix or whatever cup ends up starting. And then if you run that team, you end up doing really poorly because everyone is already preparing anti-meta. I think that if you're really trying to big brain things, early on, you run the anti-meta. So you're running the mons that counter the big meta monsters, which normally are pretty lower down on the PvPoke ranks. They might have some very, very niche play only versus certain mons. Within like 3 or 4 days of everyone running anti-meta, from what I see, that's when people start running the very meta mons again because they beat the anti-meta. So I think that during those limited cups, there's never enough time for a full meta to really stabilize and kind of get cemented like you see in a much more cemented like Ultra League Premier or Great League, things like that. So I think you really have to be ready to just change your team up regularly throughout those limited like 1 week type of cups.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Like a baby. Since that reminds me, we have a new baby cup. Element Cup is a 500 CP cup.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for that.
I might be avoiding that one. I don't know yet. I wasn't a huge fan of Little Cup, probably due to the bronzer mirrors. But it just felt like it was a very, very narrow meta overall. There was only so many mons that you could really play effectively. And when you take that 500 CP limit with restrictions with like the evolution typings and things like that, and then you make it only restricted to 3 typings, I just see it being a very, very narrow meta. And I think that Master League is going to be out at the same time. I haven't played Master League, I think, since season 4. So maybe it's time to dust off the Master League Pokemon and give it a shot here in some Master League Classic. I've gotten a couple new mons like a Giratina Origin, like Hundo, as well as a couple others. Maybe we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and I almost feel like Niantic did us dirty a little bit because what they're doing is they want us to play Masters League, which is the least loved cup so far, or least played cup. So this way that they're making this another league that we don't want to play, that people are gonna now go into that cup.
It's very possible that that's their strategy. Who knows?
Yeah, but I'm gonna definitely do that too. So speaking of Master League, you just mentioned that you might have a team. So why have you been avoiding Masters League? Is it because it's expensive and you don't grind as much, or is there any particular reason?
Yeah, they got rid of Master League Premier. Before I was known for being an Ultra League battler. I got to rank 2 in the world in season 3 on the leaderboard, rank 2 with my Master League Premier team. I really enjoyed the meta. It was a bit narrow, I'll be honest. I think that there was about 8 to 12 good Pokemon. Now that said, I was running a very similar team that actually my Ultra League team was based on. I was running Machamp, Best Buddy Snorlax, and Metagross. Plays very similarly, albeit a totally different Backmon. And yeah, I was able to climb up very, very high leaderboard with that team. And then for whatever reason, Niantic decided that Master League Premier was not something they were interested in continuing, despite it having more popularity than Master Classic. So I think that was a bit of a mistake, and I think it kind of shows that they were a bit out of touch with their player base, because that's something that was very well loved, something that had a lot of hype behind it, and something that just a lot of people, including myself, enjoyed a lot. So that's been the main reason I haven't played it. I never enjoyed Open as much, and I also didn't have the Pokemon for Open, because obviously a lot more mythicals and legendaries and things like that. A lot of them are raid locked, that are going to be exclusive to certain times of the year. I mean, Dialga, for instance, right? A lot of people that I know still don't have a Dialga, or certainly don't have a maxed out Hundo that is kind of required in order to really, really do well in Master Classic, whatever we want to call it. So that was one of the main reasons I haven't been playing it. Now that said, I have built up some mons. I can probably build a Dialga if I have to, which I think I'm not going to. We'll see. I'd like to wait until I get the Hundo if it ever comes back into raids. But that said, when you're given a choice of Element Cup or Master Classic, it's a bit of a tough decision, and maybe I play a little bit of both. Who knows?
So you have your Ducklet saved up already for Element Cup?
I have a Ducklet that is good enough to run. I think I also have a Growlithe that I caught that I was never planning on using as an Arcanine, but it's got solid IVs for Element Cup. Yes, I do have a contingency plan if I need to play Element.
That's good. And as far as for getting into Pokemon Go, so I just want to pick your brain a little bit. So 2 questions. How did you end up, and when did you end up playing Pokemon Go? And then we go on from there.
Yeah, so I played day 1, July 6th, 2016. I was ready to go. I had played some Pokemon main series games. I loved the idea of an augmented reality type of game with, like, geocaching and all that sort of stuff. Really, really cool. I played for the first couple weeks, mostly with my then girlfriend, now wife, Ariel. We went out together. We were catching Rattatas and Pidgeys and Eevees and things like that. It was fun, but there was limit. It got stale pretty quick. I don't think that they'd implemented raids at that point. The gym system was very limited. There was no Go Battle League, anything like that. I lost interest probably within a month or two. Just kind of stopped playing. Fast forward 3 years later to July 2019, a few of my wife's friends actually started playing, and they kind of showed me some of the updates to the raid system, and it just looked like a much more fun game. So I picked it back up, leveled up pretty quick, and actually got involved in my community as kind of a raid leader. I was organizing, once I kind of got an understanding of the game, I started grinding raids really hard. I remember when Rayquaza came out, I think it was like July or September of 2019. I was doing initially like 2 or 3 raids per day. But then when I figured out what Wednesday raid hours were, I'm trying to get people together for that. I'm hitting up my friends that play. I'm getting into local discords and trying to get communities going. And we ended up having a raid hour that was, I think, like low end 40 people, high end up to like 100 people sometimes, all caravanning together. And yeah, it was a great way to get kind of involved in the overall community, which I think Pokemon Go does a good job of kind of interacting with each other and having an actual community versus just playing on your own. Now I did that for maybe 6 months or so, and then Go Battle League came out in early 2020, and I had no idea about PvP at all. I had never done anything outside of maybe my 3 battles with a friend per day just for some items. I needed things like Sinnoh Stones. But I remember my very first team, Daniel, it was low kick, low sweep, Primeape, attack weighted. Then I had Flygon from Community Day, Safe Swap. And then I had Clink Clank as my closer, single moved. It was a terrible team. I did not do very well. But I ended up figuring things out kind of in Ultra League. I went to, I think, GamePress.gg, looked up the best mons. I played like Swampert. I had a Giratina. And then I think I played like a Togekiss. And it was good enough that I was able to climb a decent amount just kind of by trial and error. Like I mentioned, I was able to figure out what's good, what's bad. But I had no idea what I was doing. Preseason, I peaked at 3150. But as a reminder, 3,500 was like the rank 10 back then. So I did not hit rank 10 in preseason. Season 1, I started to get some idea of what I wanted to do. I think I climbed up to about 2890, 2900, right around there. Did not reach the rank 10 either. But I started watching some videos. Like I think FP Sticks, King, Swag Tips. Those were some of the first ones I watched. I actually remember watching your podcast with Lyndon Ryu. I think it was maybe covering like one of his Sylph tournaments that he did. And listening to Lyndon and you interviewing him, I'm just like, there's so much detail that goes into this game. It's not just, okay, these mons are good, I'm going to use them. I really need to be learning counts. I need to be learning my typings. I need to be learning matchups, ABB. There's so much detail that goes into PvP. So that was kind of my introduction to high level expert tier Go Battle League and PvP in general. So season 2 was my first season to hit leaderboard, first season to hit legend. I ended up, I think, hitting it I hit 2900, 2914 in Ultra League. And then I hit, and that's when I actually fell in love with Machamp, just because there were so many dark and ice mons and normal mons all in Ultra League that I just really started liking Machamp, and it was very accessible. I ended up hitting legend in Master League Premier, and the rest is history. I just continued watching videos. I started streaming at that point in season 2, kind of got like a little bit of a local community that would watch some of my streams. And, just kind of by trial and error and getting good at some of those teams, I ended up climbing up to the leaderboard, which started getting me some attention. And, from there, I was just started streaming regularly, do well, be entertaining, get some lucky raids from people like King and, Butters and FP Sticks and things like that. And, your community starts growing, and it's really taken off from there. So it's been a ton of fun. Here we are 6 seasons later. I've been regularly streaming the whole time. I hit leaderboard every season, legend every season. It's been a fun time, but I've completely stopped actually like grinding and doing raids. Those were something that I did prior to PvP. With me, with COVID, with me streaming, I just don't have those same cycles and time to go out and do 50 raids in a week every week like I used to. Plus it's expensive.
That's true, and that is awesome. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's so cool. So yeah, just to point out, Lyndon, when you listen or watch a podcast with Lyndon, you always think you don't know nothing about the game.
Exactly. Very true.
And speaking of learning, hosting, streaming, and everything you just mentioned on this amazing journey, because that was awesome. And now I want to ask you about ADL. So AD obviously became the host of ADL, which is another accomplishment on top of everything else. And if guys, you don't know what ADL is, well, host, I'm going to explain it in a second. As being the host, I don't think there's anybody better besides Arrow, or not, maybe not even Arrow can explain better than you at this point. But walk us through what ADL is and why is it so exciting?
Yeah. So in addition to Go Battle League, obviously there's some other formats out there as well. Some people really like the Show 6 Play 3 that Sylph really popularized. I never battled in Sylph myself. I didn't start PvPing until Go Battle League. But as other formats have emerged, like Sylph and some Go Stadium, Go Team Up battles, there's also been one called Arrow Draft League, which is a draft format. Think of like fantasy football, in that you're drafting certain, rather than certain football players, you're drafting Pokemon. So it starts off with 16 battlers operating in a great league, 1500 CP cap. There are certain bans of like the most meta Pokemon that say, hey, we don't want to play these. We'll move them off to the side and then go through, and all the players, they draft their certain Pokemon in a snake format. Week after week, they battle each other. There's some evolutions to their lineup. They have free agency where they can add and drop Pokemon. But it does operate on that Show 6 Battle with 3 type of format. And, we get a lot of those people, for instance, Linden, that are some of those top battlers in the world, whether it's Sylph, whether it's Go Battle League, whether it's ADL. They go head to head every week. And Arrow Draft League, in addition to going through the draft, actually showcases their battles week after week. So we get folks like myself to kind of organize things and take us through the rules, take us through the formats, introduce the battlers, things like that. And then we have some shoutcasters as well that come on and kind of hype things up and commentate over the battles that we see. Sometimes they're live, sometimes they're pre-recorded, depending on where we are in the season. But it's a really good time. We see some of the best players, people that have very big followings, people that pull off some things that probably you or I are just like, how did they do that? It's really fun being the host. I actually started off just kind of coming on as a shoutcaster, having some insights and talking about what I was seeing in drafts and things like that. And as I got closer to Arrow and to one of the production guys, Nightwing, we just started really clicking. I really enjoyed kind of setting things up and taking kind of a leadership position and helping structure and give some feedback on where we wanted to take the league overall. And yeah, now you guys can see me there every week. We go live on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We normally go through 12 sets of battles with those incredible battlers. And if you guys want to check it out, you can go to twitch.tv/arrow_ARROHH_.
Yeah, that was way better than I would have explained it. So thank you so much for doing that. And guys, make sure to check it out because it's a lot of fun. It's every single Sunday. Well,
It's a good
during
time.
the season, but mainly every single Sunday. And it's a really different level to see those battles. When I get some of the highlights and I see Polymer's up, how he won and last season and all those things, it's just unbelievable to me. Yeah, and I don't know what to say to that because that's to me is like up here again, and I'm done here. But what I wanted to ask you about this, we are wrapping this up very soon, but I wanted to ask you about this. So I ask everybody about this, esports, of course. So esports has been a hot topic, and since day one, I came into this game because thinking, or I should say knowing, but nobody knows. So thinking that this is gonna be esports, and that was like I think at this point a year and a few months. I think at this point, and there was nothing about it. But then a few months later, that somebody from Niantic said, yes, we are going to do esports. And then obviously the first esports team, the first esports player, which was Speediest Chief 2, and who was also my very first opponent in a PvP that I ever played, and went pretty bad. And then also, I just wanted to ask you, what's your opinion on esports? And I'm not saying like let's say, I guess that's already esports. ADL is esports technically, and then what Speediest Chief is hosting is as well, with like small prices, but the idea what I'm looking for is like a real esports organization franchise, technically, because that's a franchise. What do you think about that as a possibility for this game?
Yeah, so I think there's some things to consider. I like esports in general, right? I'll watch some League of Legends or I'll watch some like Overwatch League. There's things for like 2K basketball, Call of Duty, other MOBAs, things like Dota. There's a lot of esports out there, and there's some things that go into how successful they can be. Obviously, viewership audience is going to be one of those. When we look at Pokemon Go, I think that the community is very, very pro esports. They want to take it that direction. People like yourself, people like myself, people like Speediest, we're all trying to push things in that direction. And a lot of it has had to be kind of grassroots on our own, right? Things like ADL, things like Sylph, things like Go Stadium, getting together and organizing these tournaments. For instance, if we take a look at a different game, Overwatch, Activision Blizzard is the company that made Overwatch, they actually went and put together their own league that they're sponsoring themselves. They go, or they go get sponsorships from other people. They build out those franchises and things like that. A lot of big popular esports organizations, some of them might be like a Team Liquid or like an Envy, they get involved and buy in one of those team slots. That's something that I would love to see similar, from Niantic or from Pokemon, whoever it would be that would be helping facilitate an actual structured league. Now that said, we have to kind of consider the overall audience. Pokemon is a very, very popular game in general. Absolutely I think one of the highest grossing video game franchises of all time. So there's a big market for Pokemon. Absolutely. Pokemon Go is a little bit smaller, right? A lot of people like the main series games. So we kind of narrow the scope when we get into Pokemon Go, which is exclusively a mobile game. We start to narrow it even more as we look at the PvP Go Battle League scene, or the PvP scene in general. So it's kind of a smaller niche than Pokemon Go or than Pokemon overall. Now, that said, it's been growing a lot, especially with Twitch. And I think that there's been a big demand from the community to say, how do we facilitate this? How do we construct it? How do we organize it? And that's where you're seeing the ADLs, the Go Stadiums, the Sylphs pop up. So I think that we're going to need to continue doing things on our own end and continue fostering the growth of the PvP community and of Pokemon Go as a community if we're going to be continuing to work towards that. But I think that the main things that I would be looking for to really see Pokemon Go have a chance at an esport would be some serious sponsorship from Niantic and from Pokemon Company to help foster that growth and kind of pick things up, use some of their resources, use some of their money and stature to help it grow themselves versus just rely on the community. And then at the same time, I know that right now, when you look at competitive games and esport games, you don't want to be in a position where you're having to constantly rematch and do replays. The game right now does have some challenges. There's known bugs that Niantic publishes on their websites of things that they know are broken and are actively working on, but are still broken today. And until we're able to get to a point where we can reliably say, this game works, we know it works 99 times out of 100, it's going to work properly, hopefully more, it's going to be challenging to really bring it up to that level when there's so much room for speculation and subjectivity of, was this a big deal or not? We saw this error, we saw this bug, we saw this problem. Did that impact the game or not? We want to be in a position where that never happens, where the games are just objectively, one person played better, one person had a better team, whatever it may be. So I know that's a lot. My summation is that I think we need to continue growing the community ourselves. We need to keep working on some of these grassroots projects like we're doing. But if we're going to take things to the next level, I think we really need Niantic to step up, work with us, and start putting on some showcases, some tournaments, and structuring things so that the community can continue to grow and take off with the help of a big corporation like themselves.
That's very well said. I loved everything that you said about it, and I'm glad that you are very well informed about actual esports, because now I feel like we have a real conversation about it. So, I watch all of those too as well. I really enjoy it, and I like it a lot. And then, there's a company, I forgot what it's called, something Unicorn, is owned by Mark Cuban and Ashton Kutcher and all those. But the point, what they have is esports betting, and I'm not saying let's go and bet on all that, but I figured. They should be the ones who try to push Niantic, hey, we need to get started with this game, Pokemon, because it's the easiest game to bet on, and it's the quickest that you get the results of the win or the loss, because the matches go like this. And it's entertaining, and it's emotional, especially when you move the 60-second clock, 30-second, it becomes very emotional and very, very energetic.
Yeah, I think that for anyone who plays Pokemon Go, they can see the excitement in the Go Battle League games, right? I think that for me, I know that there's a lot of popular content creators out there that are doing community days and doing raids and things like that. And I mean, that's some people find that exciting. For me personally, I really like the competitive aspect that Go Battle League and that PvP affords. And I think that it creates a lot of hype and a lot of excitement. To your point, I think that, we do the Twitch predictions all the time, right? Like the betting channel points and things. You can definitely apply that to an overall type of like, gambling or something similar type of format. And I think that, to your point, I think that could create some nice, we'll call it financial ramifications for Niantic wanting to, potentially get into that as well. I think it's a community right now that with the right support can really get uplifted and brought onto a larger stage. Again, there's some things that need to happen, some dominoes that need to fall in order to make that a reality. But I think it's going to start at the top, frankly, from Niantic. So I'd love to see some action that they would be able to take.
Yeah, exactly. You said it right. So okay, so hopefully that happens very soon. Now that COVID is technically over in most areas, according to Niantic, and they're gonna have safari zones again, so that might bring the chance back of the invitational only, which Poke AK and King was the last one that they faced off. If they start pushing that again, I feel like the viewership again, because that's the most watched video I think they have. Pokemon,
Yeah.
I mean Niantic.
Yeah, I
On
think
their
like
channel.
in-person tournaments is a big step in the right
Yeah,
direction. And I think that being able to get some of those personalities out there and you know, some of the hype around an in-person setting that it affords, like, you know, not every, I'll be honest, I don't think that the Pokemon community, especially Pokemon Go, is very tied to Twitch. I think that other games like Overwatch, like League of Legends, like Dota, like World of Warcraft, a huge Twitch viewing audience. I think that it's growing for Pokemon Go, but I don't think it's quite at those same levels. I think that more people follow, you know, maybe the Pokemon Go website and rather than just Twitch, and find out about updates specifically on the website, and to see some sponsorship of like a Pokemon Go Niantic sponsored in-person event. I think it would create a lot more hype that would translate to people watching in person, people watching YouTube videos. Because there's no like official Niantic Pokemon Go Twitch tournament that's happening to draw viewership to it. So I think that the answer is in-person tournaments, and I'm also glad that we're kind of exiting COVID here, and hopefully can get back to that being a reality.
for sure. You said it right again, and again the and Niantic has to change a little bit because right now they are still the gotta catch them all instead of anything about Go Battle League, you know, advertisement. So once they change that, we should be pretty good. And hopefully they do that now that we get in person.
I hope so.
Yeah, and then I wanted to wrap this up because we could go on forever and I could ask millions of questions
I
because
like to
enjoy
talk.
talking to you. But the question I have is, well, it's not a question really. It's what it is where can people find you and where do you stream and how often and what is your time frame schedule, all that kind of stuff for the audience to check you out.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So you guys can find me at twitch.tv/holesome_. That's HOLESOME_. I regularly stream probably 5 days a week on my own channel, sometimes more, sometimes less. Normally I'm going to be streaming Go Battle League content. I'm going to be showcasing my own games. I go through, interact with chat, you know, play some of my teams. It's great because it's a pretty small community. You know, I face a lot of other good content creators on a regular basis. We raid some other folks, we interact with some other folks. It's a good time. I do variety streams as well where I play other games. So it's not just strictly Pokemon Go content or Pokemon Go Battle League content. We play a lot of other games as well, normally doing 2 or 3 variety streams per week. You can also find me on Arrow's channel, twitch.tv/Arrow_, for ADL every Sunday. That said, I'm also on Twitter. That you guys can find me there at twitter.com/wholesomepogo, HOLESOME Pogo. I regularly post on there, give updates about my stream, updates about my community. So yeah, I'd really ask you guys check me out on Twitch and on Twitter.
And we'll link all of those in, guys, in case you don't want to actually, you didn't find out all of them, it's going to be in the description. And then last but not least, is there anything you want to wrap up this podcast with? Anything you want to say to the community? Anything you want to share? Anything whatsoever. It doesn't have to be about anything. It could be about you. It could be about your puppy. It could be about the community. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first off, thank you for having me on, Daniel. Like I said, you were one of the actual first people that I remember seeing as one of like the content creators. I remember going on Reddit and seeing some podcast about some like Sylph Champion Linden. And I'm like, this is great because I get to see videos of like people's battles and things like that, but I never get to actually listen to someone interviewing and talking about how they construct their teams, what they're, what's going on in their brain as they're going through these battles. So I really appreciate you having podcasts like these and helping showcase some content creators, but also really help someone that might be new to Go Battle League or new to PvP kind of get some tips and know who to go find and get some of those details for how to excel. I guess just kind of a final word to the community, guys, continue supporting content creators like Daniel, like myself. It means a lot to us when you guys come tune into our streams, watch our videos. I love seeing the communities that get built, whether it's my own, whether it's other people's communities. Like I mentioned earlier, Pokemon Go, it's something that we used to interact in person a whole lot. It's been a bit more challenging lately due to COVID. But I think that online, we can still build a lot of these communities, a lot of these relationships, a lot of these closeness that is frankly one of the best aspects of Pokemon Go. It's just the way that it brings us all together. So, you know, I love seeing my own community grow. I love seeing other people's community grow. You know, continue supporting content creators, continue being a part of that community. And you know, guys, it's on us as a community overall to kind of uplift this game. And like you said, if we're working towards esports, you know, the more that we can popularize, the more that we can build hype, the more that we can work together, it's only up from here. So look, I'm glad to be a part of it here as a content creator. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning into my streams, tuning into your streams and videos. And you know, the sky's the limit, I hope.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming for the podcast. We're definitely going to have you again on because I have like 10 more questions minimum I need to ask you.
Yeah, we could do a 6-hour one next time, okay?
Yes, we will. But thank you so much for coming on, guys. And make sure to make sure to check out Wholesome. He took great amount of time to craft his knowledge in Pokemon Go and in streaming and in hosting. So I highly recommend you to check him out. And guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Daniel.